This is the fifth episode of the Ask and You Shall Receive podcast. This is a big one, and I'm very, very honored to have our big time, great guest, a coach and motivational speaker, Mr. LaDavis. Please introduce yourself and please let the crowd know where to find you.
First of all, thank you for having me. It's an honor to come on your show. Yeah, my name is LaDavis, and I'm a coach, speaker, and I speak on personal development and personal growth and development, basically. Um, you can find me at on all socials, but definitely on Instagram at Iamladavis, and then my website is theladavis.com. So those are the two main places where you can find me.
Perfect, perfect. I really want to jump into this because I know you have tons of value for us here. So I really kind of just want to start with the foundation and your story, honestly, of where you really have come from and kind of what has led you to becoming, the impactful coach and speaker you are today.
Yeah, man. Well, I guess it kind of goes back to, let's see. I grew up, I'm from Mississippi, so you probably can tell by the accent, from Mississippi. And I had a modest childhood. Definitely was not. It was good, but obviously there were some struggles. There were times where we had a lot where we had money, and then times where we didn't have money. So kind of just growing up like that. Definitely growing up with a little bit of lack. I wouldn't say I was dirt poor or anything like that, but we definitely had struggles growing up. Maybe that kind of played out later on in my life, kind of those struggles, and to kind of give me the drive that I have, and also a little bit of the trauma as well. But it definitely pushed me to, be where I am today. So basically, I, kind of grew up, got married, young, and started my life out and everything. And what I realized is, well, I didn't realize this, but just kind of going through life, and the turning point for me came when I got divorced. That was the big turning point. Got divorced, and in the beginning, it was like I knew I was getting a divorce, and so in the beginning, it was okay. I mean, obviously, a divorce is not fun. It was okay in the beginning, and then once the smoke settled and everything started to settle in, and I started missing my kids and things like that. That's when it really hit me. Really, really hit me, and I fell into a depression. I was depressed for probably 2 years total, and just through that time, I just realized that I am where I am today because I didn't know what I didn't know, right? And
Mm,
not just marriage. I realized that for my whole life, like where I was in my career, where I was just personally as a man. I just realized that I didn't know what I didn't know. I didn't know where I needed to grow. I didn't know what areas of my life that I needed to grow in. I didn't know. At that time, like today, I read books like crazy. I read a lot of books. I do a lot of reading. And today I practice what I preach as far as self-development, personal development. That's what I coach on. But I had to learn how to do it for myself because I was never taught that. Right. And so it just kind of hit me as I was in my depression. It just kind of hit me that, man, I wish I would have knew how to do this. I wish I would have knew how to communicate in a relationship. I wish I'd have knew. I had money issues, right?
hmm
I had a lot of debt. I was like, I wish I would have knew how to manage my debt, how to pay off debt, how to even not get into debt, and just kind of other areas of my life. I was like, I wish I would have knew, right? I would have done something different if I would have knew because I was always seeking to do the best that I could do.
mm,
But the problem is if you don't know, you don't know, right? And so I was headed fast in the direction that I thought I should go, right? And just not knowing. So, you know, I would tell you that drive alone doesn't mean anything if you don't know where to go. Ambition doesn't mean anything if you don't have a direction for your ambition, if you don't know what to do with your ambition. So I was a guy, I was full of ambition, full of drive, full of potential, but I didn't know how to direct it. And so that kind of stemmed, that was the gist of all of my problems, where I failed in marriage and failed in, in my career or whatever, is because of those things. And so when I started to pick myself up, I started with the Bible. That's where I started. I picked up this Bible because I grew up in church, but I didn't know it. I wasn't really doing what I was supposed to do. I just kind of went to church because my family, my grandmother, raised me up in church, right? And so her planting that seed in me allowed me to know where to go when tough times hit. So I knew, okay, I need to get back in church. I need to start reading my Bible, all those things. So I picked up my Bible, started reading it, and I started finding out, okay, there's a plan for my life. There's a will for my life. There's certain things that God wants you to do. There's certain things that you can do to be successful and prosperous in every area of your life. And so I got so deep into the Bible. I was just reading. That led to not only reading the Bible, but that led to reading other books. And then I started reading other books, personal development, leadership books, and things like that. And I was like, wow, where has this been all my life? Like, and from that point on, I just became a personal development junkie. And I, at that time I found out that I was a natural teacher. I didn't know that either. I found out that I was a natural teacher. So that's my gift, is teaching. So I kind of mixed that together with the teaching and just everything that I've learned. And then I heard God specifically tell me, God said, I took you this route because I want you to teach other people. I want you to show other people. I want you to help guide other people. Not that I'm an expert, not that I'm perfect, but God told me specifically, I want to use you as a guide to guide other people so they can grow and develop and live up to their potential. So that's kind of how I got into it. That was my journey. And that's kind of how I got into coaching.
Mm-hmm. And, I really think you touched on the key point there is, having the self-awareness become a key factor because, a lot of people start today and they say, I want to be successful, or I want this and I want that. And they hit the ground running, but they're kind of missing that key aspect of self-awareness, saying, okay, I want to get to these things, but what do I need to shift within myself and my own character and my own self-awareness to recognize this needs to be changed to see this kind of come to fruition, whether it's, being a better man or a better businessman. So kind of like touch on that. How did you really, figure it out? You were just going at it so hard, thinking you were, in the right direction or whatever it might have been, but kind of how did you start to come about figuring out the whole like self-awareness journey, and from there, implementing the readings that you had from the Bible and the other books as well?
Well, I recognized all of those things, kind of like definitely the Bible, but the other books that I was reading kind of led me to seek out other people or seek out either mentors or peers, right? And that's when I realized my level of self-awareness
Mm,
is with other people and other people that you can trust to tell you the truth, right? And so because we all have what you call blind spots. We have them. And I had a ton of blind spots that I didn't know. And sometimes you can get those things from just reading yourself. Like I recognize a lot of my blind spots, and it made me self-aware just by reading the Bible and reading those other books. And when I read those other books, I I would read and something in there would show me, wow. So the one thing that reading books gave me a language for things that I felt, but I didn't know how to express.
mm,
Right. So when I read something, it showed me that, oh, I needed self-awareness on this level right here that I didn't know. And it kind of revealed some of my blind spots. So that's one thing, just the reading. But the other thing that reveals some of my blind spots is getting in partnership with other people, other men, and people that are ahead of me and people that were my peers, and getting with them, and some of those blind spots get revealed to you that way as well. So that's kind of how
mm,
I came into a different level of self-awareness. Is the more I read and the more people that I got in contact with and then I had a mentor, and and he was able to help me to unpack some things that were within me that I couldn't see.
mm, mm. And that's like almost impressive to say and share and be accountable of, because a lot of individuals nowadays almost want to say there's no flaws within themselves. and they don't, do the action like you're saying of seeking that surrounding environment of like-minded people that you either want to become or that can help you find these resolutions. So, after kind of realizing all of this and the mistakes you had made, like what made you begin to say, it's time for me to overcome all of this? Because so many people kind of start to realize these things and then they kind of just like cast themselves out and just kind of shut themselves down for, almost the rest of their lives, technically, where they say, I've been through all this, so I'm never going to get better, or I'm not going to change. So what was on you to, now that you had these surroundings, what was on you to keep pushing and have that initiative to now just kind of change your life to where it is today?
Well, I would say my two sons, right?
Mm,
Because I know that I I realized that I was so far behind, and not necessarily behind. Now, I would admit sometimes I felt like I was behind when I looked around at other people. I would admit that. I'm not gonna lie to you. I compared myself to some other people, definitely people of my age, right, and just realized where they were, that also made me realize that I was behind. But
mm,
I also realized that I was behind on almost some of my personal goals, right? And so when I realized that I was behind, I realized I could have been further than I was. I just didn't know. Some of it was I didn't know what to do, and then some of it was I just didn't know the right direction to go in. And so I realized that I was behind. And the other thing is that I realized that okay, I got two sons. I do not want them to experience the same thing I experienced as far
mm,
as having to figure it all out and having to figure it all out after everything has crashed and burned. That's what I wanted to avoid with them. Now, I understand that I cannot take away all of their struggles because regardless of how much I lay out the path for them, they're going to have their own struggles and they need to because some of those struggles are going to make them better. Because the things that I
mm,
went through, even, yes, I talk about how all of those things were hard, but they also led me to where I am today. They also made me, a tenacious reader. They also made me a tenacious, gave me a tenacious work ethic because I realized I do not want to go back to where I came from. I do not want to be ignorant again. I don't want to be, not reaching my potential. So I think
mm,
just recognizing that I had sons and I wanted them to not have to experience the same thing that I went through as far as just being so far behind, that pushed me to say, okay, I got to overcome this thing. And that's what pushes me today to just continue to keep going. Just realizing that I got sons and they're watching and I want them to not start off in a negative deficit like I did.
mm. And it's really clear because the authenticity in which you're responding to these, it's you're leaving it all out there because you implied and put in place this self-awareness, and the implementation is now to lead by example for your kids. And that's honestly extremely impressive because most people, they don't really want to accept their flaws, and let alone change and then become the better example. So I do want to ask, throughout all of this, it's that's a tough journey, really, what you're talking about. And through all of this, I'm sure you kind of had, a lot of beliefs changed on certain words, whether it's like, manhood, or being self-sufficient, or being a good husband. So, kind of how did you really like change these definitions of many things that, you might have grown up and they were one way, and, through this experience and changing yourself, you've kind of made these things into a better definition, and honestly a higher standard of kind of what you want to see in the world as well.
Oh, definitely. So I would say manhood, I was taught, and I probably wasn't even taught just explicitly all the time. Some of it was implied. I was taught that manhood was you get everything on your own, no help, toughen up, be a man, do it yourself. Nobody's going to help you, right? And not even to ask for help. That's what my definition of manhood was to be hard and do everything on your own, not ask for help, not seek out counsel from other people, not seek out wisdom from other people, because other people can help you. And my definition of manhood was just kind of doing it all on your own and not showing, also, it was not showing any weaknesses, not showing any weaknesses, always, no, always kind of act like you got it all together. And I've realized that is the problem with older definitions, or a lot of people's definitions of manhood, is to act like you got it all together. And a lot of guys today, the downfall of a lot of us guys today is the fact that we are still acting like we know it all, or we acting like
Mm,
we got it all together. Because here's the thing: I've been to certain events, certain events, to where like women always ask, because there was a time where I was kind of mentoring singles, right? I was kind of mentoring singles, and I had a large group of singles, men and women, and I was kind of it was kind of a you know it would call it a singles ministry, right? But it was outside the church. So I had this large, it was like a group of over 200 people that I was just leading, because I felt led and I felt called to pour into single people to get them to personal develop, get them to accept their single season and things like that.
mm,
That was a few years ago. But I would always get this. But the thing about it is, I had all these people in the group, but the women were there more than the men. The women showed up
mm,
more. The men would come to they wanted to be a part of the group, but they didn't show up for all of our group time or all of our sessions. And the women would ask me, why is it that the men are not always coming here? Because we all trying to learn, right? And I had to think about that, but I realized this: men, the reason why the men don't show up to things like that is because men have a hard time accepting that they don't know what they're doing, and they have a
mhm,
hard time telling other people, you know what, I don't know what I'm doing, right? We let our pride get in the way of telling people, I don't know what I'm doing. And I did that for years. And so that's why, for me, I realized manhood is not acting like you know how to do everything. And it's also not admitting that you don't know what you're doing. Manhood is admitting you don't know what you're doing, because that's real leadership. That's how you can get the right people around you, get the right circle around you. That's how you can reach out to people and say, hey, help me, and you can still be a man. So manhood is not necessarily just doing everything on your own with no help. It's being resourceful and asking those certain people to help you, whether it's a counselor, or a therapist, or a mentor, or a coach, or whoever, your friends, telling people, hey man, I'm struggling in this area of my life. Can you help me? So that definitely, for me, that's definitely changed. And I don't remember the other the ones, but definitely that manhood, that I've learned a valuable lesson in that. And I try to instill that in my sons. Like one of my sons is really smart, and he knows he's smart. And so he always tries to just do everything on his own. And I tell him, I said, son, you need help. No, I got it. I'm okay. But I'm trying to tell you, I know you got it. I know you're smart, but you need help, or you need to read the directions. I don't need to read the directions. Okay. I, so yeah, that's how my definition of manhood changes. You need help, and don't be afraid to admit that you need help.
mm. And that really leads me into my next question. In society today, a lot of people have these pitfalls, like you've honestly brought up, where we don't even allow ourselves that opportunity, where we always say, and especially in social media today, you always need to have that look of, everything's going great, everything's going well, everything's all together, and also that sense of, self-sufficiency, when it's really the key is building that team and having yourself surrounded with the right individuals. What would you say are, some other like common pitfalls you've seen people have that kind of limit their growth in your coaching that you've done as well?
Definitely, like I said, I still would say number one is not seeking out the right help. I would also say just mindset. I think the mindset that people have causes a lot of that, pitfall. That's another pitfall that people fall into, is just not having the right mindset. The mindset of, I'm here to learn and grow and develop, right? And not, a lot of people have a mindset of, if I don't know how to do it, that means it can't be done, or it's not for me. And that may be true sometimes. It depends on what you're trying to do, right? if you're trying to get in the NBA and you're, you know, 5'1", and you know, the reality may be you might not make it, right? And so you're right, that's not for you. But there's a lot of other things that people are giving up on. They're giving up way too easy because I think, and that's the pitfall there, just giving up too soon, right? But I believe sometimes the reason people give up is because they don't know what they don't know. They don't know you need the help of a guide. And even if you're doing the wrong thing, that guide or that coach or that mentor can tell you, oh, this is, you know, maybe this is not right for you. And then you would know. But a lot of us are giving up on things that because we think that it's not attainable or achievable, right? And sometimes that's just because you just gave up to her. You gave up too
Mm-hmm.
quick, right? Too quick. And I just think that sometimes you only lose if you quit, right? Because there's other you maybe you need to pivot. Maybe you need to change what you know, because how can you be so passionately about something and then give up within the first the first couple of months of something? And so a lot of times people are giving up way too easy on a lot of things. That's definitely a major pitfall. So I would say giving up, and also, like I said, just that not asking for help. Definitely, that's a big one.
And I think that the key things there are the word you brought up in that response was mindset, because it really all comes down and starts with mindset. So having these things where a lot of people today, they get honestly a lot closer than they think to their dreams, but they shut it down like just before, or they think that they can do it by themselves, and it's all requiring self-sufficiency. In terms of mindset, what are those like keys to like either A, just overcoming fear and limiting beliefs that you might have like grown up with, or just ways to just have your mindset, in the right positive place, I guess, to just keep going on this journey if you're not, even if you're not there yet, as quick as you want, or, if it's requiring more than you expected as well.
I think you got to have I think here's the thing. I think you got to have a paradigm shift to you got to
Mm,
shift your whole paradigm of how you look at failure, because what you're speaking to is a growth mindset. And when you have a growth mindset, that mindset says that everything is a learning experience. Everything is an experiment. And so you just have to get in your mind that I might fail. This might not work out the very first time, but I'm going to learn something. I'm going to learn what to do next time. You're either going, if you keep going, you're either going to learn what to do or you're going to learn what not to do.
not
You're going to learn something if you just keep going, right? And you'll get to where there's so many. I will tell you, there's so many businesses and people that we know today that are very successful, that over time they just kept going, and what they're doing today wasn't what they were doing, years ago when they first started in their company. Some companies start out doing this one service or this one product, but what they're doing today is completely different. But
Mhm.
they would not be there if they didn't give up, if they would have gave up. And so, but and I think whether they knew it or not, they probably had a growth mindset. They recognized that even though I fail, I'm going to learn something. So now you got some people that say some people kind of subscribe to this idea that you're going to do, go ahead and do it and do it fast so you can fail fast so you can learn what to do. Like,
Mm,
even if you don't know what to do, just take action, right? And take action, but and you'll learn what to do. I agree with that some, but I also agree that you also need to discern what you need to do. And I'm a person of faith, so I believe you need to pray about what you need to do and ask God, "Is this what I'm supposed to be doing?" And you ask God, and if you get a confirmation, or you feel like you got a confirmation from God that this is the area you need to go in, or this is the thing that you need to do, then do it. And then even if you fail, you're learning. And so I think
mhm,
that people need to change their relationship with failure. That's the problem.
mm.
That's the mindset you need to have, is you need to change your relationship with failure, and stop looking at failure like the end, but looking at failure like, oh, this is just the next step, right? So I think that's definitely a way to change your mindset is to change your relationship with failure. And that'll also help you with fear. That will help you with fear, because if you change your relationship with failure, then there's nothing to fear, because you know you're
Mm,
going to fail. So that's the key right there, right? And so when you do fail, you look forward to it, right? And so I've gotten to the point now to where I'm, it still doesn't feel all really, really good to fail, but I'm to the point now where I'm already like looking, okay, what do I need to learn from this? What do I get from this? And so sometimes I get a little bit excited because I know I'm going to learn something out of this failure, right? And so that's what I would say as far as changing your mindset. Just change your relationship with failure, and that'll also help you with your fear.
man, you worded everything perfectly because it is really that paradigm shift and the relationship in which you're seeing things. Because so many times, even for me in my life where I've failed, it only came to fruition later on that, like, if I didn't go through that failure, I wouldn't have even been able to really make it any further than I did. And it's like you said, being able to see it in that light of positivity and the fact that this could lead to a promotion and a betterment of yourself in the future. And it does require a little bit of that faith, like we were talking about, where you're going to go through this, you might not get the results you need, and you might consider it as a failure, but that might even get you even closer to where it is you're trying to go. The one issue I know that really comes up with this of, failing forward and the growth mindset is the whole idea of comparison. And even like you said earlier, you can either compare yourself to yourself and saying, "Oh, I missed this goal. I should have hit this goal a month ago." Or of course, in today's world where everyone's looking online and either this person's younger or older than me and they have this and this and I'm not there yet. And then they kind of use that to just allow themselves to just stay in place rather than saying, you know what, they have that, good for them. I'm on my journey and I'm on my path to that, and every day I keep trying, I'm going to get closer. So what is like a good way to, I guess, aside from just, I guess, managing your eyes to the content you take in, what is another good way to like eliminate the noise and just focus on being the best you can and just going at it and becoming like that 1% better every day?
Man, I think here's the thing. I think that a lot of people. Well, I will start with this. I will start with personality testing. Right.
Mm,
I love a personality test. I love it. I love them. I love the Enneagram. I love 16 personalities. The Myers Briggs test. I love that. And the reason why is because it shows me, right? It gives me a picture of my strengths and my weaknesses, and it shows me now. I love a personality test, but I'm not saying it's the Bible. I still think you have a
mhm,
creator. God created you, and but those personality tests give you a language to explain yourself, to give you a structure to say, eh, you know, how this is how I operate. This is how I'm wired. Right. I think it starts there because a lot of times people don't know themselves,
mm,
and when you don't know yourself, you will definitely compare yourself to someone else that's doing something, and you will get all down on yourself and can't figure out why you don't have the same results. But it may be because you're not wired to do it that way, right? You may do it a different way. And so you need to know who you are. And when you know who you are, it will help you not compare yourself to other people. Now, I know we all do it. At some point, we all do it. But like I said, when you really know who you are, you would know what I'm uniquely here to do. And even if you're doing the same thing as someone else, even if you have the same business or the same job or same career as someone else, the same role, same function, even if you have that, you would understand, oh, because of my personality is like this, I may not do it the way they do it. For instance, if you know you're a coach, let's just say if you're a coach or whatever, if you're a coach and you know you have a because I believe you can be a coach and you can be an introvert. See, introverts get a lot of flack for whatever reason. I don't know why. I'm a natural introvert. I'm naturally introvert, but some people don't think I'm an introvert. A lot of people do. My friends and family know that I'm an introvert. But when other people that may see me on stage or see me online, they don't think I'm an introvert, but I am. And so you may be a coach and you may be looking at another coach that's an extrovert, and and what they're doing on social media may be a lot different than what you're doing. And you may think, oh, I need to do it like that. But maybe you don't. Because here's the thing, especially even for a coach, you may not necessarily need millions of followers. You just need a certain amount of people, a group of people that you got their email address and you email them and they work with you personally. You can
Mm,
still provide a lot of value and you can still make a lot of money if you just got 100 dedicated people that are following your teachings and your coaching versus having a social media following of thousands and thousands of people, right? You may not be wired that way to do that because of your personality. There's neither wrong nor, one way is not wrong and right, and the other way is not right. It's just that's who you are. So you may not be that person going live on Instagram and like, hey, you may not be that person, but you also may be the person that closely connects with people through your email or through your blog or something like that. And so that's when you really need to understand. When you really understand who you are, your personality, you won't get so down on yourself when you don't do it the same way another person does it. So definitely, I would say that's the key to it. It all comes down to knowing yourself and knowing who you are specifically called to be, and then you will not get trapped in comparing yourself to how someone else does it.
mm. And I mean that's honestly like so spot on because I really think, people nowadays they're not even really living in true freedom because they're either living up to someone's beliefs. They could be trying to live up to a family member's beliefs. They could be trying to live up to a persona they want to have on social media for, an outcome that they think might make them feel happy. But like you said, it really comes down to being authentically, yourself. And I think you can't even be a truly free person. You might be able to have all the money, all the followers, and all this, but you're not even really going to be living a free life if you're not just being authentically you, and you're kind of just pulling and tugging yourself in all these directions for either the satisfaction of others or for that persona that you're trying to achieve online. um, I think freedom, does require, certain financial thresholds to be met. Of course, in your environment as well. But I think it first and foremost starts within yourself, where you can allow yourself to just be your true self, regardless of, what someone might think you need to live up to or anything else on the outside kind of determining your actions. So in terms of like freedom, where it starts with self, where else do you think it kind of spans off from there, where people kind of just think of it as just, I have all the money I need?
Yeah, you're right. It's not necessarily even just about money. It's definitely living authentically to yourself, like true to yourself. Because here's the thing, you can climb the ladder of success, but you don't want to get to the top and realize that the ladder was leaning up against the wrong building, right?
Mm,
And some people end up realizing that. And that's why they're not as happy because even with just money alone won't just is not won't make you happy. Definitely, it can buy you a lot of things and you can have a lot of fun, definitely, but it won't produce true, real happiness, right? And so I just think that in order to be really free, I think you have to really get down to the root of who you are because you can't experience true freedom until you really, really know who you are. And I think that takes some soul searching. That takes some, whatever you want to do, whether you want to pray, you want to meditate, you want to get with God,
mhm.
or whatever you need to do. I think that takes some time. You need to get alone by yourself and just really, really figure out who you are and what you really want. And because I think a lot of people, the reason why they're not free is because it starts so early in life. It starts with the people that love you the most, like your parents. Your
Mhm.
parents, we love our parents, and I'm a parent. And but the thing about it is, our parents can raise us to try to live the life of their dreams instead of ours,
Mm,
right? And I know they mean well, right? They mean well, but they just They're just doing what they think is best. But the
Mm,
problem is that they're not you, and you're not them. And and my father had, my oldest son, he's my oldest son is just turned 21. So, I, you know, my father had to talk to me about that. He's like, son, you got to realize he's not you, because these day and age, I was a self-starter, just, and I'm looking at him like, oh, you got to do this. You got to get going, and my father was like, okay, yeah, calm down, but he's not you, you know? And so I had to realize that. And so we put these standards and these things on our kids at such an early age. And right.
mhm.
And yes, I know that we are the ones that are supposed to shape them, but we're supposed to shape them to we're supposed to give them values, the right values to live by. But at some point, we're supposed to shape them into having their own mind and making up their own mind and being their own person, right? And so it starts early, and then definitely it starts there, and then society has all these things that they want to put on you, and we don't experience true freedom because you got your parents putting labels and things on you, and then you got society telling you who you need to be, right? And so it's tough. It's tough, and people don't always have the mind to break out of that,
Mm.
right? Some of us don't have the mind to break out of it, and they never break out of it, and some do. And so I think it's just really important to just get to the ground level, strip everything away, and just find out who you are. Talk to God and ask him who you are, and ask him what does he want you to do for your life. And that's when you can experience that true freedom, because it doesn't come with it. Yes, having a level of finance is definitely going to let you be financially free, but you're still not may not be emotionally or spiritually or mentally free.
Yeah, and I think it's almost like a two-step process, like you're saying, where you're gonna need to take that time for yourself, to get alone, get with your creator, and really see, who you are and what you're all about. But I think secondly from that, I think the next important part is kind of building the right surroundings and environment, because I think you can almost have that alone time and then go into the wrong environments and kind of just end up how your environment is, where it might not align with your values. And this is kind of something that's not really easy for everyone, building, the right environment and the surroundings, because that involves a lot more circumstances. But what would you say, is kind of the best way to putting yourself in that, positive, proactive environment where you're either surrounding yourself you want to be like, or you're surrounding yourself with like-minded people that have, similar values and goals as well. Because I think once you kind of find yourself, it's now, making sure you're in the right surroundings and environment so you can continue to thrive on that self that you found.
Yeah, I agree with you. It is hard. It is hard. Some people recognize it on their own, and some people need someone else to help them. I think by and large, I think unfortunately everybody is not going to recognize they need to find a new circle, even if they know that the circle that they're in is not the best,
Mm,
because everybody is not in their circles thinking that, oh, I'm right where I need to be. There are a lot of people who know there's something better. There are a lot of young people, believe it or not, that are in the hood and all that. There are some young people in the hood that know I need to get out of here, but they don't know how. And I think it is going to take other people like myself and other people like you, people that care about society and care about that people are growing and developing and reaching their potential. And it's on us to reach back and try to get those people and pull those people out some kind of way, right? Because unfortunately, everybody is not just going to come to that realization that they need to get out, right?
mhm.
Now, but if you do have some sense of I need to get out of here, or I've changed, my mind has changed, so I just need to change my circumstances. And I believe this: if your mind truly does change, then your body will lead. Like
Mm,
if you get your head out, even if you're in the hood, if you get your head out, your body will follow. And so that's the thing, getting your head out, because nothing will change your mind, if you set your mind on, I'm getting out of this situation, or I'm changing my environment. And so you got to start to look at, where am I going? Like, you got to look at, okay, who are the people and who are the circumstances and who are the rooms that represent my future, not my
Mm,
past. Because everybody that you're around now represents your past or your present, right? And so you got to determine, okay, I have a vision for my life, and where I am right now does not represent my vision. Like, I can't see my vision played out where I am right now. So you got to really understand, okay, who's doing the things that I see in my future, and that's how you get around those people, right? It may not be easy, but you can start walking in that direction, because, and you also need to pay attention to those things pulling in your heart, right? Because I had to pay attention to that myself. Like, I grew up with a set of friends that, some of them are still my friends today, but some of them are not. And it's not because they did anything to me or I did anything to them. It's just that I realized that, man, I'm growing. I'm
mm.
growing. It's kind of like being on the elevator. You know, when you get on the elevator and you start off at the bottom, there may be a bunch of people that get on the elevator, but people start getting off at different floors, right? And so the way I look at it is, you got to keep going, and let some people get off on the third floor, and you just keep going. So I think you just have to recognize that things are not this. I want to be better, and I want to surround myself with people who are doing what I want to do, like-minded individuals. And you got to come to that realization that I want to be around people that represent my future. And if you for whatever reason you can't do that, definitely it hopefully, someone can come encourage you, because all you need to know, sometimes all you need to hear is it's possible. And so you need to hear from somebody like me, who were where you was, and you can realize, oh, it's possible. I can change my environment.
Man, I think you really handing out a recipe here, for the foundation without them having to really go through all those troubles, because we're really starting from the inside out, where so many people think it's from the outside in, oh, when I get these things, then I'll end up like this, or when I get there, then I'll end up like this, when it's really the opposite. And this recipe you're giving thus far is honestly it, where it's all starting with the self-awareness, realizing who you even are, and figuring out those flaws, whether it's relying on yourself too much, or not even admitting to certain flaws that you need to change. And then from there, instilling the right mindset of growth and faith. And then from there, just kind of changing, these definitions that you might have had in childhood to something that are a little bit higher and a little bit more to a better standard that aligns with what you're trying to be and become. And with this recipe, I mean, I think it's really precise, but at the same time, it comes down to the doing. So, with these foundations, what would you say, even from yourself? I'm sure you had like a certain routine or a set of disciplines that honestly probably either completely flipped or changed. And, with this kind of set of topics that we've talked about thus far, what is the best way for people to like now build a discipline on it and now get a routine going? And especially from your perspective as a coach, how do you help people, see all this and now start to implement it?
So what you're talking about is habits, because I think a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people think that success is a one single event.
Mm,
But that's the problem. Success is not one single event. It's a bunch of daily habits, right? You don't just get to the Super Bowl in one game. You got to win a lot of other games. But it even starts before that. You got to go show up to training camp. You got to work out. You got to do all these things. You got to practice. You got to gel with your team. All of these things lead up to the Super Bowl. You don't just get a Super Bowl. You don't get to the Super Bowl overnight. So I think that people need to just realize and understand that whatever you're reaching for, whatever your goal is, whatever you have, whatever your vision is, you got to realize that it's not one single event. It's a journey. And you got to start, but it starts all the way back at your daily habits, your daily routines, right? I definitely believe in a routine. Like, for instance, some people, and people debate on this, whether these things work or not, but I definitely believe in a morning routine,
mm,
because that sets your day. That starts you off, you know, Right. And when you have a certain things that you do that start you off, you're in the right frame of mind that I'm going to get things done today. Right. Having that morning routine, whatever that looks like for you. Myself, I start with prayer, meditation, reading the Bible, things like that. That's where I start. Sometimes I may listen to some worship music or whatever, just kind of get started. And that's where I start. And then the rest of my day, and then just kind of, and I also start with some, you can call them affirmations, but these, I make I have a bunch of I am statements.
Mm,
I am successful. I am a good listener, or whatever. I am a generous person. I am a hardworking person. Things like that. Things that you kind of say to yourself to get you started, right? So now, some people may say, "Oh, I'm not a morning person," and all those things, and that's fine. Some people maybe not be, but you still need to have, even if you have a nighttime routine or whatever, you still need to have a plan for the day, or how,
mm,
instead of just waking up and just doing whatever feels good, right? So I think it starts there. You just your habits, and then you also got to look at whatever your goal is or whatever you are looking to achieve. You got to put that front and center, and then you can do like a mind map or whatever. You can just draw it on a piece of paper and say, this is my vision. This is what I want to accomplish. Whether it's I want to make a certain amount of money, or I want to have a certain level of influence, or whatever it is, or I want to grow my business to reach this milestone or whatever it is, even in your personal life. I want to have a successful marriage or whatever the case may be. I want to lose weight, whatever. You got to put that front and center, and then you got to think about what needs to be true every day to accomplish this. What do I need to do every day to get
mm.
there? And that becomes your daily habits. And then you got to focus, and then you got to take your mind off the vision or move the vision to the back, or it'll always be there, but you got to get away from the vision. And then you got to focus right where you are on those daily habits, one thing at a time, one day by day, step by step. And you have to fall in love with the process, not the end goal, because the end goal is you're going to always keep that in the back of your mind, but you have
Mm.
to focus on the daily, everyday things that I need to do. I need to show up day in, day out in those daily habits, because that is what's going to get you through. Just focusing on your daily habits.
And I think that's a good point where you say leave it in the back of your head because you're easily gonna fall off and fall away from those habits if whatever that end goal is not truly important enough to you. And I agree with what you said because even me, I've done a vision board and that is, relating on things that are important to me, my future and my values. And, doing that and reminding yourself of that through the day is honestly the main thing that sometimes when you might not be in the mood or not feeling like achieving it or doing those daily disciplined habits, remembering that thing in the back of your head of what you're doing all this for is sometimes that difference maker. But one other thing that I do want to touch on is, throughout this journey in this process, because it's not going to be a one day thing, emotions play a key part. So, and this is a muscle that gets developed over time, but what is the way to really not allow your emotions to kind of dictate your circumstances or actions when you're striving for that goal? Because, there's going to come a day throughout this journey where, your emotions might say, "Oh, I'm a little tired," or "I'm just not feeling it today." What is the best way to kind of not allow those emotions to take control throughout this period of the journey?
I think you need to, well, I think first of all, you need to listen to them. I don't think you need to fight
Mm,
your emotions, because I think a lot of people try to fight their emotions, and you lose, right? You
mhm,
lose because those emotions can be strong,
mm,
or you just try to overpower your emotions. And you may be able to overpower them sometimes, you may be able to just muscle through and overpower your emotions, but that's not a healthy way to do things. And it's going to come back to bite you one day, right? To just ignore your feelings. I'm going to ignore my feelings, because here's the thing. Sometimes your emotions are indicators of what may be wrong, right?
mm,
Sometimes they are indicating something's missing, right? And so you need to listen to them, but they don't need to run your life. They don't Your
mm,
emotions don't make the decision, but you need to listen to them, and you need to feel it, and go anyway. I don't know. No, I don't know any other way to say it. I can't sugarcoat it. I can't get, you just need to feel what you feel and do it anyway. You might, whatever it is, you might have tears in your eyes and go anyway. You might be overcome with fear. Keep stepping, walk anyway. Take some time to acknowledge your fear and just say, and you can even, like I said, acknowledge those emotions and ask yourself a couple of questions. You can ask yourself, why am I having this emotion? Like, ask yourself that. Why am I having this emotion? Because you may be able to realize, oh, I'm having this emotion because I'm scared of this one thing. Okay, why am I scared of that? Why do I fear that? Oh, because I have this image of myself, or this image that society has put on me, that I need to be perfect. Okay,
Mm.
so you can kind of get, now it's not that easy, but if you start asking yourself the right questions, ask yourself at each moment, why do I feel this? Why? And demand answers from yourself. Why do you feel this? Right? And then ask yourself, and then when you get the answers, the answer may be, oh, because I'm worried about my image, or whatever the case may be. And then you can, or oh, I'm worried that I people are going to look at me like I'm stupid or whatever. And then you
Mm.
can ask yourself, well, are you stupid? And you know, if you're not, okay, I'm not stupid, or I'm not this or whatever, then you can kind of roll that back and say, okay, well, there's no reason to have this emotion right now. And
Mm.
so you can overcome that because you realize, well, it's not true. So that's the thing about it. Emotions are there, but they're not always true. So feel them and keep going anyway. That's the best way I can put it. You just got to go through it.
Man, I'm gonna take that one for myself because that's a key point where you can honestly start to realize, you either have an emotion coming up where you might feel you're not enough, or this or that, the third, and like you said, ask yourself that question: why is this coming up, and is this even actually true? And I think that helps with, kind of adapting along the way, because as you go through this process of, executing those habits and disciplines, you might have different questions come up along the way. And you can honestly give yourself your own form of revelation by kind of seeking out those answers by asking those questions. Last but not least, from your perspective, because, you've been through so much and you're doing the coaching, you're in a great position, and you've overcome so much in your life, not only as a parent, but, to now be a coach and a speaker as well. What do you kind of do through your own process? I'm sure you're still trying to get better yourself. I'm sure you're still trying to improve and always, look to become better, because I'm sure the process doesn't end. So what areas are you still kind of, working on yourself as well?
One area is I'm still working on just even business relationships,
Mm.
just working on connecting more with other people. And like I said before, even I asked for more help today than I used to, but I still need to grow in that area and be bold in asking, hey, can you help me with this?
Mm.
Sometimes I can ask for help, and then I can still fall into those days to where I don't want to ask for help. I just want to figure it out.
Mm.
So I'm still growing in that area, just improving my relationships with all people, business relationships, definitely business relationships. I mean, just, reaching out even more than I do now. Even though I tell people that, I tell other people to do that, I definitely have to take my own advice and just reach out even more, because every time I reach out, I always find that person is willing to help me, because for whatever reason, I get in my head, oh, they're not going to help me with that. But, but I realize that's not true. That's everybody may not help you. No. So you may have to go to the next person. And you also need to realize who you're asking, right? Don't ask a person to give something that they can't give. Right. So I think for me it's just really real just trying to improve my relationship with, other mentors and things like that, to where I really can get them to help me, because we all need to help each other get to where we can't do anything alone. Right. You can't
Mm.
I don't care. Even if you're successful, your success is limited. It's going to be capped off by your relationship. So relationships is everything. So that's definitely, I'm always trying to improve relationships.
Man, I want to thank you again for coming on And honestly, I think this might be one of my favorite ones. We didn't really do anything flashy here. We kept this thing super black and white, and we really honestly kept it straightforward for everyone. I know there's tons of value in this. I know there's plenty of notes in this for all the listeners. So I do want to thank you. And I got one last question for you. All in all, when everything is said and done, what do you want your mark to be? What do you want your impact of value to be, when it's all said and done, for those around you, for your kids, for everyone you've worked with, you've coached, for all the companies you've spoken to? What is that lasting impact that you're looking to leave?
I think that for me, my lasting impact is I want people to know that I gave. I gave
Mm,
all that I had to give. I was generous with my time, my knowledge, my wisdom. I just want to leave that because that's important to me. It's really important to me because I think that uh, for a lot of us, we a lot of people are not where they want to be, or a lot of people are not as fortunate as others because nobody gave them anything. And I'm not even
mm,
always talking about money or leaving them with an inheritance. I'm talking about leaving them with the knowledge and the wisdom that they need, right? And so that's so big for me. Is just that I want to be known for I gave everything that whatever I learned, I gave it away. All of my knowledge, all of my wisdom, I gave it to other people because I want to be able to keep that going, keep the legacy going to where we're always giving, 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 so that everybody can experience success on their level and everybody can have a fair chance to reach their potential. So that's what I really want to be known for, a person that gave. I don't want anybody to say he kept anything for himself, any wisdom, any knowledge, anything that he learned. And that's why I love to learn so much, and that's why I love to coach, is because I want to give away everything that I know, even if it's not my own knowledge. I want to give away the resources. Hey, go talk to this person. Hey, do that. That's what I want to be known for, and that's what the legacy I want to leave.
Man, I really truly want to thank you, because that is the key elements right there of knowledge and wisdom, because it really can allow someone to not have to go through, years of shortcomings and those failures, where they can get it from someone else and not have to experience those things. And that shortening of the learning curve, can make honestly a big time change in someone's life, and not only their life, but their lineage as well. So I do want to thank you first and foremost for that. And I also want to thank you for coming. I would truly say this has been our best episode. We really kept this just honestly so value filled. So I do want to thank you for coming on. Please let people know where they can find you, whether it's Instagram or for coaching, anything and anywhere. Please let them know where they can find you, because I'm just in this short episode, you've given so much. So I do want to thank you, and please let people know where they can find you.
Hey man, hey, I appreciate it, and I just want to thank you for having me on, man. It's This has been so fun, and I just hope that everybody got something out of it. Definitely, you can find me on Instagram at I am LaDavis. That's where you can reach out to me, DM me, let me know, ask me anything. That's the quickest and easiest way to get in contact with me. Instagram, I am LaDavis. And then for coaching or speaking or anything like that, you can just go to my website, theladavis.com. That's theladavis.com, and just hit me up.
Perfect, perfect. I'm going to go ahead and close us out. This was the fifth episode of the Asking You Shall Receive podcast. And I got to say it, man, this was the best one this far. So thank you again. Thank you for listening. Please keep an eye out, as we'll be dropping value, more to come. And thank you again. Thanks for listening.